Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. As in, probably just me and you for right now. just don't mention it. For it. So? As you can see, we got a special friend here, a very special boy.
Yeah.
I'm
special.
Yeah, would you like to, at least for VOD purposes?
For VOD purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Kaiden Gale. I'm the Kaze fighter. I'm your friendly neighborhood superhero. No, not that one. I punch rubber monsters.
Ayo.
Yeah. Someone's gotta do it.
Guess so. But yeah. Okay, let me give you a quick shout out. Let's see if it still works. the bot. It does. Okay, cool.
Hi, Nightbot.
Yeah, so if you haven't checked out Kaiden here before, please do. I think you've only done test streams, but you know, hey, follow him for when he does streams. Gun emoji is a threat. I mean,
it's just a matter of regularity. just gotta do it more frequently.
This is a threat though. Follow Kaiden, or else I will cry live on stream.
Oh no.
So yeah, we are actually you got 26 followers already. That's pretty spicy. Pretty good meatball right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, honestly.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Pretty spicy meatball.
A not insignificant number of them are other TokuTubers.
Hey, you know, gotta take it when you can. Who cares, right?
Hey, I found my niche. It's exactly the one that I was aiming for.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, don't look a gift horse in the mouth and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just to explain to everybody, I have been working on a tabletop card game, like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, or Yu-Gi-Oh. Hopefully not Yu-Gi-Oh. And today's stream, Kaiden here has helped out a lot, mainly with me talking at him for multiple hours. So I thought, hey, why not try to make a stream where we work on the card game together? Especially because I have a goal. I do have a goal in mind. So there's not gonna be like any art or anything because I'm not an artist. I can't draw for the life of me. But basically, the current goal is going to try to get enough cards in the two different, I guess you can call them tribes, to be like super general about it.
We've been going with domains. So.
Yeah, they're called domains, but like, you know, for like I guess like layman terms. The goal is to get at least 2 domains to a playable state. So I can like test play it with people and then modify it further from there. That being said, out of the 5 domains we have so far, only 2 of them are, well, technically 3. I would say 3 actually are kind of in that state conceptually where they can be brought to a playable state, I would say. And that is the domains of the scale, the cog, and the fletch. How do you feel about that?
I am not particularly surprised that it's specifically those three. Because the scales are probably the scales and the cog definitely are your thing, and I feel like we've talked about the flesh the most.
Yeah. Also, what you're trying to say about the scales, huh? Saying I like cowboys? Because you're right. I do like
Ye
to...
motherfucking ha.
Yeah, I do like to engage in the ye and the ha on occasion. But yeah, this is basically the card format. I switched over to our design space, and let me see how many... I'm thinking for at least the test decks to be like, the cards would be like, there'll be like 20 to like 30 cards for like the test deck. Either that, I think when play actually happens, I think it'll be a pretty good goal to have like 40.
Yeah.
That tends to be the case from what I've seen with cards, like with decks that don't have like resource cards, like in Magic the Gathering, where like usually the resource is like a third of the deck, right?
Yeah. Like, yeah, Magic the Gathering decks start at 60, right?
That's standard. Yeah, that's like the standard format. The card at minimum it needs to be 60. But usually you'll have like 20 to like 25 land cards in the deck. So like a third of your deck is just the resource. Yeah? Did you weird clicky thing?
Yeah, sorry, that's me muting my mic because I can flip that up and down to mute and unmute. Because I just drank some sparkling water, so that you can guess what I don't want on stream. But yeah,
belching.
Yes, I have human weaknesses. Leave me alone, robot.
Yeah, you don't want to belch live on stream. How could you, man? Think of the content.
You mentioning the thing with resources and that kind of determining card deck size made me think of something that I'm not sure about. Specifically, how big a deck is in the Pokemon TCG, because that has resource cards.
Well, from what I understand of the Pokemon TCG, the resource isn't as poignant as it is in Magic the Gathering, where you literally can't do anything unless you have the resource cards.
Okay, you can do things without the resource cards in the Pokemon TCG, but you cannot win. You literally are unable to win without the energy cards, because without energy cards, your Pokemon cannot attack.
Yeah. Plus, if I recall correctly, actually, I'm just gonna look it up before I talk out my ass. Let's do that, huh? That probably will help. It's also 60 cards. Okay, cool. It makes sense, right? Since they do have a resource card, it probably makes sense that half of that, like not half, like a third of that deck is the resource in question, right?
No, it's not. So
Did Google
on,
lie to me?
on Pokemon.com, they give a example. They give an example deck list of 12 Pokemon, 34 trainer cards, and 14 energy cards. So it's 60 cards, but it's nowhere near a third. It's literally a quarter.
Interesting.
Yeah. But that is to say, that speaks to the fact that the resources in the Pokemon TCG are nowhere near as vital as they are in Magic. Because as you said, you literally cannot do anything without mana in Magic. Whereas you can actually do things. You can set up the board in Pokemon without having any energy cards in your hand.
Yeah, and that's not a thing in Magic the Gathering, right? Like you literally can't do anything unless you have land, which is why you have to have like a third of your deck, if not more, if you're willing to risk it. That is because like there is issues with like mana drought, for instance, but there's also issues with like having too much mana, because then you don't have anything to play other than land.
I did watch a video a while ago about MTG jargon, and they did mention mana drought and mana flood, which you're aiming for that balance, which honestly that's something that I find fascinating coming back to Yu-Gi-Oh! And I know you don't like me talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! But
I just have nothing to respond with since I don't like Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
I think the game is very bad.
I'm beginning to appreciate the modern state of Yu-Gi-Oh! more. The thing that I find fascinating is the deck structure has changed vastly, significantly in since I played, and that is my deck building philosophy for Yu-Gi-Oh! Was always 50% monsters, 50% spell and trap cards. Specifically, like about 15 spell cards and 5 trap cards. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But since the focus of the game has shifted so much, I've been seeing decks with which are still 40 cards, the minimum required, that have like 22 monsters or 23 monsters, only 3 trap cards, maybe only 1 or 2 trap cards, and even one that had, I think, only 10 or 12 monster cards at most. Which is fascinating to me, this radical shift in how people build decks because of how the way the game is played has changed.
Yeah. There's a lot of things to talk about when it comes to things like that. Like, for instance, like I'm a very strong proponent for like rotations being a thing, because it keeps things calm.
It definitely keeps the power creep away.
Yeah. Meanwhile, like, or like, I mean, like Commander, right? Commander MTG doesn't have a rotation; it has a ban list. But like, I think the deck release, or like the releases in Magic the Gathering are also smaller than Yu-Gi-Oh's on average.
Wait, the set releases?
Yeah.
Yeah. When the whole thing happened with the leak, like this last week, I think, of March of the Machines, the aftermath.
Yeah, the fucking Pinkertons.
Yeah, the fucking Pinkertons. But when that happened, I read an article about it and I watched the video the dude made about it, and in either one of the two, it was mentioned that all 50 cards had been like shown. I was like, 50?
Yeah, I mean, I know. So Aftermath is like a weird, like pseudo release, like so. March of the Machines has officially came out 4 days ago. There was like a pre-release thing that they also did like a week ago as well, but it came out on the 22nd. Aftermath is supposed to come out, I think, on the 7th. Let me double check, bro. The 12th. Yeah, it comes out on the 12th. Though from what I understand with these, it's like I think the guy got a specific bundle called the Epilogue Booster, which is why it's so small, because like it's supposed to be like the epilogue to the Phyrexian plot. You know what I mean, gamer?
Yeah. Do you know how big like a standard release is?
About like about 300 cards usually.
300 for a single like booster pack series.
That's also including like repeat cards. Like every release has a counter spell. Every release has like usually it's negate, right? Negate's usually like the blue counter spell. Okay. Every release has a black, like murder for black, right? Like just kill this fucker, right? Like murder his ass.
Yeah, okay.
Every release has also like a prismatic stone, for instance, or like a command tower, or just like stuff like that, right? They're like, I would say like around 100 cards in a release are repeat cards, but done up in a different way to fit the release, right? Like that way, like, you know, even with the rotation in mind, those people can still be using those cards from different releases because they're still technically legal. They're just the art of a different release, you know? So like, you know, if you have a negate card from like, I don't think those the card released in this one, but like if you had it like from like Mirrodin Besieged like a decade ago, right? And there's a negate card there. You could still use it today because they release a negate card every year, so in rotation it never gets out of rotation.
I'm still going to kind of blow your mind. The last booster pack released in the West for Yu-Gi-Oh! It's called Photon Hypernova, and it has 100 cards.
Oh well, I'm gonna eat my own robotic penis then.
But I assume that Magic doesn't release booster packs as frequently.
No, it's usually like It's about 3 releases per like every 9 months, right? That's why I'm saying like March of the Machine Aftermath is weird, right? Like it's not really like a release, it's more like an epilogue, which is what they're marketing it as an epilogue to what happened in March of the Machine.
Wait, so 3 releases every 9 months.
No. I mean, like I said it kind of wrong. They basically release 1 pack every 9 months.
Okay, yeah, that is way less frequent because I also just checked. So Photon Hypernova was the last pack released in the West in February.
I imagine in Japan it's like every other month.
No, in Japan it was released in October of 2022. I mean, the next pack or the next booster pack is slated to release in May and has been out in Japan since January. And the one after that is slated to release in July and has been out in Japan since the 22nd of April. So, much more frequent, way fewer cards per booster pack.
Yeah,
but I think it evens out.
I mean, it also I think helps because like Magic the Gathering, when they do a release, there's usually like a story to it. Man, I kind of. This is like a slight aside. I miss when they used to do blocks, where there would be like a story they would tell over the course of 3 releases, and now, I don't mind like the greater narratives happening now. Like for instance, War of the Spark was being built up. Honestly, I think since like Nicol Bolas was like even like a card you can play in the game, right?
Yeah.
Or like the idea of Nicol Bolas, I mean. Same with like for instance, like the Mirrodin block Mirrodin was very lucky to have, I think if I recall, it was 2 blocks, right? There was like the first Mirrodin block, and then there was the second Mirrodin block, where it's basically can be boiled down to Mirrodin kind of jamming out like it usually would, maybe slapping around a robot or 2. And then the second Mirrodin block is, hey, we are no longer under the fascistic rule of a robot thing. Let's party a little bit. And then, oh no, we partied too hard, the Phyrexians. Oh god, it's this new Phyrexian now. Yeah, it just escalated, right? Like it was kind of funny because it was just like the first block of it was just like the Mirrodins were like celebrating the fact that they were free now, right?
Yeah.
Or the Mirrans were celebrating, and there was like percentage wise, it was like 90% Mirrans, 10% like Phyrexians, right? It was just like a slight, just like sprinkle of Phyrexians, and people were like immediately people were like, hang on, what do you mean there's fucking Phyrexians?
Yeah.
like the audience reception was, hang on, what do you mean there's Phyrexians here? What do you mean? Wizards? Why are there Phyrexian cards here? And then the next release was called Mirrodin Besieged. Where it was suddenly 50% Mirrans, 50% Phyrexians, right? And then WotC, I think, did like the most clever marketing ad they could have. Because want to hear what they did there?
Do tell.
They leaked their own cards, but they leaked 2 blocks, or like 2 releases. It was New Phyrexia and Mirrodin Purified. right? Like, they've leaked their own blocks like that so that no one could actually guess what was going to happen with Mirrodin. And then, of course, after they did that, they just kept going with it. Like, they were advertising 2 different releases, right? And then it turned out, oops, it was New Phyrexia, right?
I am so tempted to just go to the Wizards of the Coast headquarter and kick someone's ass for that whole situation, because they leaked their own stuff and then years later, assumed years later, sent Pinkertons to a dude's house to collect cardboard.
All the Mirrans and stuff like that was like that was like a decade ago.
God.
So, you know, you can't really blame the past for what the current state of WotC is, you know.
Yeah.
Because I think at the time, actually, now I'm thinking about it, I don't think Magic was owned by WotC at the time. It may be incorrect though.
Let's ask Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Thank you, German Wikipedia. Get it. No. Released in 1993 by Wizards of the Coast.
Well, fuck me then, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, man, this was like, yeah. So, you know, I think that was neat. The point is that they're trying to tell a story with each release, more or less now. For better or for worse, I mean, they have a lot of it recently has definitely been, oh no, this threat's happening. Let's wait for planeswalkers to come take care of it.
Yeah, that is something that I actually heard in a video by a Yu-Gi-Oh YouTuber. Hear me out. The dude was replying to another YouTuber's video about like his nostalgia with Yu-Gi-Oh and how he doesn't like how the game is today. Specifically, one of the things that the other YouTuber brought up was that none of the cards, or many of the cards, don't seem to take themselves seriously anymore, because you have like a whole archetype that is like fucked up plushies. And this Yu-Gi-Oh YouTuber was like, listen, I kind of get that, but when I think about Magic the Gathering, it gets kind of tiring that every single release is going to a new plane where the most important thing in the universe is happening, and the most important people in the universe have to make the most important sacrifice in the universe to fix it.
That's not necessarily true.
It's reductive, I know.
It's extremely reductive, because like what I mean by it is like what I mean when I was saying was like, you know, for instance, like a lot of what happens in releases, right, is like a plane is having some sort of issue, and then it's usually like a planeswalker comes and takes care of it. But it's not like a situation where it's like the most important thing in the universe. It's sometimes hints at a greater thing happening. Like, for instance, in Kaldheim, Vorinclex, one of the Praetors of the Phyrexians, was there and stole a seed from the world tree, right? Like a tree that can pierce dimensions, or pierce planes, which is not great.
Yeah.
Not great overall.
Not so good. Not so good in the hand of a Phyrexian.
Or for instance, like in Neon Dynasty, in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, which is just like the most anime-ass name to ever exist in Magic the Gathering, which makes sense because it was definitely anime-inspired.
Isn't that Cyberpunk Tokyo?
Yeah, it's Cyberpunk Japan, but they had like a whole ass like thing where like all the alternate card art was anime. Like anime's like looking. Also, hello, Moss.
Hi,
Welcome.
Moss.
We're also kind of procrastinating on developing a game. We're talking about games instead right now. Like like what happened there, right? Is that, yeah, man, I'm such a simp for the Wandering Emperor, especially the Eternal Wanderer. I'm such a simp for her, and I want those cards really bad. But I digress. Like, Jin Kataxis, the Blue Praetor, was also there, and he converted a Planeswalker into a Phyrexian. And it kept her spark, right? That was the big thing, is that Phyrexian, like Phyresis, would typically remove the spark of a person going through Phyresis. Because the spark is kind of the soul. I say that with a huge asterisk. And Phyrexian, yeah, it's like Soul DLC. And like Phyresis is like specifically removes people's souls, right? Like you do not have a soul after Phyresis. So Planeswalkers couldn't become Phyrexians. Until Neon Dynasty Kamigawa, or I'm just gonna say Neon Dynasty. So like it's not the biggest, most important things to happen. For a little bit, it was the case, right? Like leading up to War of the Spark, it definitely was like that, where it was like every time they go to a plane, it is the most important thing happening at the time, dealing with the most important things, with Planeswalkers doing the most important deeds possible, right? Like because they're all fighting against basically an actual god. Like Nicol Bolas wasn't a god, but he was getting really fucking close to being like an actual god, right? Like not like Plains gods. Like I'm talking about like a god that transcends the multiverse. Yeah. And then like and I would argue to some extent, very similar with Zendikar, but that was because Cthulhu was in Zendikar, and they're like, oh, this isn't that good. This isn't spicy. This is not a good meatball here. We should try to stop them. And it basically turned into, well, we managed to seal away 2 of the 3. The third one fucked off. That's not gonna totally come back to bite us later, and it totally came back to bite them later. And she specifically was like, God, y'all suck, as she trapped herself. So it's like, oh no, she's 100% gonna come back at some point. Just because she just trapped herself. But yeah, so like what I mean is like for a little bit it was like the most important things are happening in this single plane. But like after War of the Spark and after like Eldritch Moon, it kind of just turned back into planes dealing with their own issues, and sometimes the Planeswalker is there and an issue happens while the Planeswalker is there. Like, well, like, even in a lot of the most recent releases, it is an issue is caused by a Planeswalker, and normal people have to go fix the Planeswalker's issues. Like it happened in Eldraine, for instance. Like those issues caused by the Planeswalkers that was had to be solved by normal people, who also later turned out to be Planeswalkers. But it's not like people know the planeswalkers until it happens. It happened in Kaldheim, where it was like a planeswalker caused an issue, and it was basically just people dealing with that, and there was like a planeswalker there. And it happened in Neon Dynasty, right? Like, it was like, to a certain extent, Neon Dynasty definitely had a bit more of a involvement with planeswalkers, because the main characters were started out as planewalkers, so like that one's a bit different. But then you know it started turning into the most important things are happening in the most important places. But it also makes sense because there was an escalation to a story like a story arc that's been happening in the background for basically the past like 5 years. So you know it makes sense that after, like with Dominaria United, it was an escalation, right? And then Brothers War was an escalation. And then Phyrexian 1 was another escalation. And then we're now at the climax of that escalation, right? And in this case, technically, March of the Machine isn't on a single plane, but the entire multiverse is throwing hands.
One can only hope that they learn to de-escalate and do not become the fucking supernatural writers.
No, they definitely know how to de-escalate. Like for instance, like after Nico Bolas got his ass handed to him on a silver platter, things kind of returned to normal for. Oh, I also totally forgot New Capenna. New Capenna was also there, and no planeswalkers caused any issues there. A planeswalker was it, like 2 planeswalkers were in New Capenna. They didn't really do anything though. If anything, one of them got really fucking high, and that was kind of it. Yeah, there was definitely like a sense of normalcy where planeswalkers were planeswalking not to fight a war, but because they want to check out these planes, right? Planeswalkers inherently have like a desire to travel the multiverse for better or for worse. And in one character's case, it was them trying to find their home again, and they found their home in New Capenna. And then they got very fucking high. But yeah, so man, we talked about card games that's not the card game we're making for about 40 minutes.
Yeah, we got a little bit sidetracked.
Yeah, a little bit. So once again, to reiterate, our goal is to try to get relatively soon 2 of the domains to a playable state where we could have a very short, like 20 card game. The big thing for me was that I wanted a creature in every cost value, and I think the only one like that right now is the Scale. Let's see. I have a lot of C1. Okay, so we have like 3 C1s for the Scale. We have 1 C3. This one is kind of weird. It enters in tapped, and it does not untap until an allied creature dies. And then it activates. So it's kind of like a weird situation there. But I think it kind of makes it out for it with the fact that its attack is 4.
I mean,
I may want to put like a little thing, like a little carrot there, and say additional damage. So it will do 6 damage with the coin flip.
I can honestly barely read these cards.
Oh, is it bad? Ooh.
I have my quality at 480, so don't worry about it. But the fuck, 540? 540p is the highest it can go with the stream.
That's weird.
It says that's the source.
Well, here, I'll zoom.
Thank you. Okay, so enters tap and does not untap until allied creature dies. 2 auxiliary coin flip. Tap this card and deal 2 damage to a creature or opponent. Okay. Deal. So.
And Moss, feel free to get get on the conversation as well, as in like in chat.
I get a little bit into the nitty gritty with these. C2 auxiliary coin flip. Tap this card. Deal 2 damage to a creature or opponent. So those 2 damage are guaranteed.
That's correct.
As long as you pay the price. Okay.
Yeah.
And on success, deal 2 damage to a second creature or opponent. Okay. So you can't. I like the wording here. To a second creature or opponent, you can't hit the same target twice.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. On success, so you call the coin flip every time?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way the coin flip mechanics work is that you need to call the face, flip the coin, and if you land on the face, you get the additional the success, and if not, you get just you get the success and the standard part, and on a failure, you just get the standard part.
I know that Yu-Gi-Oh! And especially Pokemon use coin flipping a lot. Yu-Gi-Oh! Uses it sometimes, but Pokemon uses coin flipping a lot. But they tend to specify that you have to land heads.
Meh.
We can try with the coin flip, with the calling the coin flip. Perfectly fine. Jog my memory on the rules of the game. Did you go with the rule that attacks are always towards the opposing player, or did you go with the ruling that you can pick creatures or the opponent to attack?
Honestly, I'm thinking of just kind of waiting to see until we do a test game. But the way that it is currently set up is that you can attack a specific creature or the opponent. So like when you're doing during the attack phase, you can attack with a specific creature on the board or the opponent in question.
Then See, I'm thinking, because that means when you put the retired sharpshooter into play, it's it starts out defenseless, basically, um, or it starts on vulnerable, let's say, because it's tapped. So, and well, you don't usually want your creatures to die. So in order to make this guy usable, you would have to just crash anything into any low-level monster that you have, or any low-level creature that you have, into one of your opponents.
Correct.
Did you bring in token creatures at any point?
Just token creatures. They're not. There's no token generation for the scales, though. Not yet, at least.
Okay. Well, since the thing with that is, since the cost, the resource is not domain specific, you can very easily build a mixed deck.
That's correct.
So you could, in theory, load your deck with retired sharpshooters and token creation.
That's correct.
And I almost want to say, in order to make this one hurt a little bit more, you might want to specify that that the creature cannot be a token. Because if you can generate like 4 tokens for 3 cost, then that doesn't hurt as much as having to crash a 1/1/1 creature into your opponent. Because you actually paid full price for that one.
I like how it is right now. Like, if you have like a scale and like flesh deck, right? You can have like, if like I'm probably going to say there's also going to be a like card limit, right? Like, you can't have a deck of only sharpshooters and then like 3 spells that makes tokens, right?
No, of course. But when I say loaded, I mean like you have 3 of each.
Okay, what do you mean? Sorry, I'm just like, I do not understand.
I mean, I didn't mean it as you just build a deck entirely out of 2 cards. I mean specifically that you put as many as you legally can into your deck and try to get those out in any way you can. Pretty much Yu-Gi-Oh!
I mean, like that. It's not like uncommon, I guess, for like in like Magic for this to happen either, right? But like a slight contrary point is that you also, like, I don't have any effects or cards yet that like make you look through your hand or like through your library. So like, a slight contrary point is like, let's just say, for example, you can only have like 3 retired sharpshooters inside a deck, or like 4. Let's just go with magic rules. Say there's only 4 cards allowed with it of the repeats. You can set up the board, I guess, to have like a bunch of like goons, right? To that will die instantly. But if you don't have any sharpshooters and you never get a sharpshooter, then that's not going to be an issue. And I mean, if people are going to use a sharpshooter like that, then that's not a bad thing, right? There's also the fact that like the sharpshooter enters in defenseless, right? It is tapped when it enters, meaning that someone could easily attack it while it is not ready, and it will like get hurt potentially.
I'm thinking about like order of operation here. Oh. Okay. What's the turn structure like again? So it's basically like Magic, except there's not a like. Can you or can you not like summon creatures and use like spells after a battle?
So the way things work, I'm standing up now, by the way, just letting everyone know in case my audio changes in quality.
Stand up to assert dominance.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm doing right now, because you're attacking my card game. My card game on motorcycles.
Card games on motorcycles.
So, the turn order is top of turn, right? That's when like you get like the new points, right? Like you get your new points to spend on cards. And then you have a like a play section, I guess is the best word for it. It's like when you're actually putting the cards on the table. And then you have like that's like the first phase is like playing the cards. Then the opponent has a window to counter, right? They're like, oh, I don't like this card. Here's, I don't know, Guacamole Gamer Fart 9000 as a spell card to like instantly kill all your creatures, right? That's after the play. And then there's the attack phase where you can no longer place down monster cards or like equipment or anything. You can't play any of that. And then you can yes, that is correct. That's a Russian Badger reference. Thank you, Moss. And then that's when you so that's when you declare like what you're attacking, right? You're like, I'm gonna slap around your nutsack for a little bit, and then the opponent has the opportunity to declare blockers, much like Magic the Gathering. This is also a chance for the opponent to cast spells, right, like sorceries and or instants. Once they are done with that, it can move on to damage, or you can also cast, at this point you can only cast instants because they're instant. Damage is dealt, instants go off, so on and so forth, effects happen. And then it is the bottom of the turn order where you have one last chance to play, at this point, enchantments, equipment, or sorceries, right? That's the last chance, or instance. You are not allowed to play a monster at the bottom, and unless otherwise stated, of course. I mean, like you know how card games are. Every rule has just the biggest asterisks next to it, right?
Yeah. It's cards over rules.
Yeah. So like, that's how like the base is, and of course there might be a card in the future that's like, oh, if a character dies in this, you can play this, right?
Yeah.
As like a monster, right? And then of course the opponent can also counteract that, and then that is the end of your turn. It sounds very long-winded, but that's kind of how card game turn orders sound, when in actuality it's like going to be like 10 seconds if you're rushing, right?
Yeah. No, I only ask because, so here's how I see. Well, it can't technically work like this, or it could. Here's how I see people playing the retired sharpshooter. You, let's say we have a 3-cost spell, a 3-cost sorcery that summons 4 tokens. So you use auxiliary power to use that. I assume that's still like possible to supplement.
Yeah. I mean, I may also just change how the power system works at all. This is just how it is, while it currently is.
Okay, so I use 6 auxiliary to play this cost 3 to summon 4 tokens. Then I use my 6 regular resources to summon 2 retired sharpshooters. Then I go to battle, crash my 4 tokens into the enemy. When the first one dies, both of these untap. And I can decide whether or not I want to attack with them, or pay, or after battle pay 4 auxiliary and do the coin flips. If my opponent,
so a slight counter is like when those tokens die, you can't attack with the sharpshooter, right? Like it is
right, summoning sickness.
Yeah. Not that, like, it's not summoning sickness thing. It is
Right, we had
like the attacks have been declared. You cannot do additional attacks.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The only thing is, like, you can do the coin flip, right? But that's kind of because, like, the coin, like, card effects like that, I think are going to be treated in my mind very similar to sorceries or instants. Unless I may also like specify that they need to have like a tag, say like C2 auxiliary instant, right? And then you can do like the gun, right? Like the coin flip, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it is to be treated like declaring an attack, right? Like you can't do it an additional time.
Yeah, there's a equivalent in Yu-Gi-Oh! They had to actually bring this in because people were just reading card effects wrong. Several monster cards now have in brackets quick effect in their effect text, which basically means you can use this effect at any point that you could also use either a trap card or a quick spell. So you can also use this on your opponent's turn, for example. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has this thing called spell speeds, where spell speed 1 can only be used like on your turn. Spell speed 2, which is which is quick effects, like trap cards and or quick effects, trap cards, and quick spells, can also be used on your opponent's turn or in response to either a spell speed 1 or spell speed 2 card. And then there's spell speed 3, which is counter traps, which can only be used in response to another card, and can be like chained, so stacked onto a spell speed 1, 2, or 3 card. And you can only like chain things of the same or a higher spell speed.
So I'm gonna say with like creature effects in this, if they're like damaging ones, they can only be used during your turn. During your turn, right? So like during the phases where you can respawn a thing, you can't take like the retired sharpshooter, activate their ability, and shoot the attackers, right? Or it may be a thing where it's like if you don't have the resources, then you can't do it. Because like I think like at the top of the turn order is when you get like your resources refilled. So when you are in the defensive, then all of your resources are what they were at when you ended your previous turn. You know?
Yeah.
So that's how, in theory, you wouldn't have a retired sharpshooter like taking out an entire attack during like an opponent's turn, right? Is because they wouldn't have the resources to do it. Of course, there's a chance that they could have the resources, and if that's the case, that is the player's prerogative, I think. But yeah, this card I definitely think is going to be in the play test. Is probably going to be completely changed by the time the game is actually done category, you know?
Yeah. So if I didn't make it clear, I do like the idea of monster effects having equivalent spell speed, basically, as an instant. But here's something where I have to ask for clarification, because the way you made it sound, in Magic, can you use a sorcery on your opponent's turn as a response?
I don't remember. I don't think so. I think we can only use instants.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's been a second since I actually used the sorcery, because in Magic the Gathering Arena, I don't have any sorceries. I only have enchantments. I only have enchantments and instants in Arena, so it's been a second. I don't think you're able to do. I think sorcery is like playing a card.
Yeah.
In like the speed category, I guess, like playing a monster card.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you can only use them on your turn and not during battle.
Yeah, so I think like instants are the only cards that you can actually play on an opponent's turn. Yeah. There are also some cards in Magic the Gathering where you can actually use their monster effects on an opponent's turn. But again, that is also a resource thing, because lands in Magic the Gathering don't untap until it is your turn.
By the way, just because I ended up bringing up spell speeds, you want to hear something kind of stupid about Yu-Gi-Oh again?
Sure.
There was, for a time, at least in the community, talk of the spell speed 4. Spell speeds aren't even like, or I guess they are now kind of codified in the rulebook, but for a while the community was actually talking about spell speed 4, which only one card was, and that was super polymerization.
That's a name.
Regular polymerization is the fusion card. That's the one you use to bring out fusion monsters. Super polymerization is a quick spell that lets you fusion summon using cards from, I think, your hand, your field, and your opponent's field if you discard a card. So you can fusion summon during your opponent's turn with monsters on their field and onto your field if you so wish and if you're able to. And the thing is, that card also has an effect that says no cards can be activated in response to this. So because as a regular quick spell, it's technically spell speed 2, but because it prevents other quick spells and trap cards to be activated in response, it's technically spell speed 4 because nothing can chain onto it.
It's just built different, man.
And the fact that the community tried to codify this as spell speed 4 is just sort of funny to me. It's dumb, but it's funny because it's dumb.
I like this card.
Sore Loser.
Yeah.
After losing a coin flip, deal 1 damage to enemy.
Like it's basically like you throwing a rock at somebody for like losing the gun draw, right? Because it's definitely, this sword loser is definitely reliant on having other cards with coin flips. Because if you notice, it doesn't have a coin flip itself. But I think it would pair. I think this card would also pair very well with like Retired Sharpshooter, for instance, or I think I have it. I think that's Farmer Jim's an old one, actually. Where is it? I have 2 Farmer Jim. Oh, like, Promising Cadet. It might work well with Promising Cadet. It might work well with Retired Sharpshooter. I guess I just don't have it anymore. I don't know where it is. So you know what? We'll make it right now using this Farmer Jim. For some reason, we have 2 Farmer Jims. But there was an equipment, or I guess more accurately, to put in Magic terms, an artifact. That I wanted to do, or maybe it should be an instant called the Lucky Coin, where you flip 2 coins instead of 1. And I imagine if you win the second coin flip, that first coin flip, if you still lose that, the Soul Loser will still go off, right?
I know we're not there yet, but I have a suggestion for the card art of the Sore Loser.
What?
It's a dude in a saloon flipping a poker table.
Dude, that is what I was fucking thinking myself. We are on the same brain cell right now. Like someone,
we only have one.
Or like someone like whipping out a gun over a game of cards that they lost, right? Just like something like that.
Ooh, someone someone stabbing a knife into a poker, into like an ace of spades.
Yeah, or stabbing someone's hand after losing a poker game. It's just shit. Like it's just a dude whipping out like a Bowie knife, stabbing a motherfucker who has like a royal flush, and the dude has like the worst hand in existence, right?
Yeah. Make the dude who gets stabbed look like Kamen Rider Blade, just to cement my influence on this stuff. Oh yeah, because I saw it briefly, the promising cadet.
Yeah.
Said you toss a coin, and on a success increase health by, or on a increase health by 1. Does that mean the health of the card or the health of the player? Because that's something you might want to.
That's a great distinction I should make. Card.
Yeah. Just pointing that stuff out before it becomes a problem.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So that's sword leader. Wish I could label players. That's sharpshooter, so cadet must be under. There we go. I should probably keep shit.
What happened?
I'm good. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I was on the wrong layer.
I shan't worry about it.
But I feel like we should probably try to keep the lingo of the cards so far consistent.
This creature's health.
H.
I would say don't spell out 1. Just make it a.
Oh yeah,
make it a
yeah.
number.
There you go. Yeah. So I got that writer brain right now. I have to spell everything out.
just to increase word count.
Well, that, but also because because in my opinion, it doesn't really look that professional to have a number be an actual number, unless it is supposed to be like something like a phone number, friend. Right? Like you wouldn't spell out someone's phone number in a book. You would write out the number. But like if someone's just saying 10, it looks less professional to just put the actual number 10 than it is to write out 10, like the word.
Bosco.
What?
You've clearly never seen German phone books.
I'm scared now.
And I'm joking.
So yeah, promising cadet. Main thing is that I wanted a low cost card that has a coin flip. I may bump it up to a point, like a cost 2, because this does feel like very strong for a cost 1. Because in theory, you could play this on your first turn and immediately make the card better.
If you want to curtail that, you can change the cost of the effect.
Yeah, maybe making it
Make
C2 or something, C3.
Yeah.
Sharpshooter, Score Loser. Now we have Lucky. Now up here. Oh! Yeah! The named character. I made a named character.
Aracel, the light of the law. Angel Cowboy.
Angel Lawbringer. Fucker.
Cowboy.
Well, like cowgirl, ayy.
Where you can meet the other robot cowboy. Yay! Can you tell I've been watching H-Bomber Guy lately?
So, yeah, Angel Lawbringer. I may beef up their ability down here, too, because, like, they are max cost. And only having flying, and then having, like, whenever a Lawbringer you control is dealt damage, deal that much damage to another creature. I feel like I should probably have, like, flying, alerts, and, like, add alert at least, right?
You don't want to make it too powerful, because I'm already starting to ask questions about the main effect. So, okay, whenever a Lawbringer you control is dealt damage, deal that much damage to another creature. Fairly straightforward. But if that means I have, let's say, the Promising Cadet out, or let's say the Retired Sharpshooter, to keep it a little bit simple. I have the Retired Sharpshooter out, and Aracel, and my opponent crashes their own Aracel into my Lawbringer. Do I deal the 2 health in damage that he actually took, or that he could actually take, to the opposing Aracel, or do I deal the full 5 that Aracel technically inflicted with its 5 attack?
The full 5.
Okay.
It is the raw number of the damage, right? Like, doesn't matter if the card that was hurt doesn't have that much health. Like, you could literally, like, do, like, 20 damage to, like, the Promising Cadet, for instance, right? And the Promising Cadet could literally have only 1 health. Like, you just dealt it, and then someone did, like, a nuclear bomb and just fucking murder the Promising Cadet for some reason. Aracel would be able to deal 20 damage to whatever target, well, any creature that the player likes.
Yeah, and that's the part that I like, that you specified another creature, because otherwise that effect might be a game ender.
Yeah, no. I don't want Aracel to. Aracel, I think, is a win condition, like, or can lead to a win condition, right? Like, you know how certain cards, like in Yu-Gi-Oh, or like even in Magic, like, if you get this card onto the playing field, you can quickly start winning compared to like a normal slog win. This is like that is like the ball that starts rolling. I feel like Aracel can easily become that, especially if you have a Lawbringer deck. Like as like a tribe, like there's a Lawbringer tribe, I guess. If you bring that, if you have like a Lawbringer tribal deck, and you have a lot of Lawbringers out on the field and they start getting hurt a lot, Aracel is like a fucking an eye for an eye, right?
Yeah.
What's also kind of funny to me is that I say another creature. I don't specify enemy creature, so in theory, you could attack one of your fellow Lawbringers with Aracel, and just, for some reason, like that, it wouldn't double the damage, right?
Yeah, no, it would just jump around.
Yeah, it will just jump, but like, if you really wanted to, you can kill another Lawbringer with RSL and get the damage back.
if you in theory, if you had a Lawbringer who would activate its effect if it were destroyed by effect damage, say, or just if it were destroyed, or killed on the field, then that would not be a stupid.
Yeah, you can use RSL to kill that Lawbringer and still get that damage, as well as whatever like effects that Lawbringer's death would have triggered, assuming that there's an on death Lawbringer card. That being said, if you want to use RSL to kill Farmer Jim, you just wasted your damage, because Farmer Jim is not a Lawbringer, he's a farmer.
Yeah. Do you want to keep it that way, or this way, that the effect technically includes RSL herself?
Yes.
Okay.
Mainly because I don't see anyone ever doing that, because that would be legitimately just wasting your card. Because if you kill RSL with RSL's ability, as in like you killed the RSL you own with RSL, you're just wasting RSL because she will not be around to deal the damage again.
No, that's not what I mean. I meant that if your opponent crashes a 4-attack creature into RSL to soften her up, then she could still deal the 4 damage to any creature.
Oh yeah, no, that's also that's also included. She's a Lawbringer, right? So I am intentionally keeping that in play. That if she gets hurt, you can use the damage against her to do that. Though if she dies, she dies. Like you lose that damage.
Yeah.
But I definitely think RSL, it could be like a an end game, not an end game, but like a win condition character, right? I also had a different idea for the cog. I was doing a lot of workshopping yesterday on the cog, and I had an idea, probably me getting way ahead of the horse here, so to speak. But like it could be
yourself before the cart before the horse.
Yeah, I'm putting my like the cart is not even in the equation. I saw the horse off the horizon and I said, "Fuck that horse!" Right? I'm gonna pass you, motherfucker. Right? It was a cross-domain angel. That just as like a little idea. I called her Edificita. Edificita. The rebuilt.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, let me try this again. Edificata, I think is how it's supposed to be pronounced. It's just Latin for rebuilt.
You keep cutting out, and it sounds like you're saying
Edificita.
Deposita. Okay.
Yeah. And
my brain kept my brain kept putting an F in there.
No, there's an F. It is Edificata. I think. I'm not sure. Point is, Latin word, the rebuilt guardian, an angel that was made into a machine by the cog. But that's for later, probably. RSL's the only angel so far in the game. But actually, I do have some stuff for the cog in mind. I would like to make the cog the next domain to be playable. That being said, though, I think there's like only like 2 cards for the cog. That's the flesh. Both, yep, these are the cogs. So, you know, we got Augment Scavenger. Oh, we also have Enthusiastic Mechanic. And then we have Electromagnetic Locking Joint. Basically, to explain what you're seeing here, there are, to differentiate the flesh much more from the cog, because you know how I was, right? I was like, man, the flesh and the cog way too similar, right? The flesh will be in a situation where, you know, you can build your own monster, right, with the flesh, and then you kill the core, and all the extra little monster bits inside erupt out and turn into their own monsters, right?
Okay.
I'll turn back into monsters. Although I am putting the caveat of like an additional effect with them that if it's like a living organ, for instance, which is a monster type now, such as, you know, like the crawling hand, the still beating heart, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
If it is in a creature that dies before it is unequipped, they turn into shambling flesh, which basically means that they can still attack, but they can no longer be used as like a graftable organ, with an asterisk, of course. Because there may be a monster in the future that allows you to make shambling flesh into a like a graftable organ again, right?
I guess you could make that into a token.
I was thinking about just saying the creature type turns into shambling flesh.
Yeah, or like make it. I'm just saying that you might not want to put this into the rule book, but instead onto the card. That when they
oh yeah, no, that's gonna be a card thing. Yeah, that's not a rule book. That's a card. Card rule for living organs, because those are a monster type specifically.
Yeah.
And not all things that you can make with the flesh are using living organs too, right? But with the cog, in contrast, the cog is making machines, right? So I'm thinking for their equipment, there is a specific equipment tagline called Mounted, right? They can see such as electromagnetic locking joints. So with Mounted, it basically says that this card is attached to this creature permanently. It cannot be unequipped. Unless it also has the tagline Retrofit, or tag word Retrofit, which basically says when a creature dies, the card returns to the battlefield as an equipment to be mounted again, basically, right?
Yeah.
And of course, there's also like the mounted asterisk with the Augment Scavenger, right? Where when you tap the Augment Scavenger, they can remove a single mounted equipment card on an allied creature. But so like, and I'm thinking that with retrofit cards, it could end up being very interesting, right? So, let's say we have the Augment Scavenger, right? Because the Augment Scavenger is there. Let's just say the Augment Scavenger. The Augment Scavenger gets a pneumatic pneumatic pile driver fist, right? Like, let's go Gundam with it, right?
Yeah.
Or no, not Gundam. Pacific Rim, because Pacific Rim has like the fucking like shock fist, right? Like where they like rapid fire punch without having to move the arm, right? So like, let's say Augment Scavenger gets an augment, right? That is mounted, right? So they are not able to take off that arm. But if you layer it, so like electromagnetic locking joint, for instance, right? If you go Augment Scavenger, electromagnetic locking joint, then pneumatic power fist, then when the Augment Scavenger dies, the electromagnetic locking joint returns to the battlefield with the pneumatic power fist still attached.
Okay. I would suggest making that two keywords: mount and mounted.
What would the difference be?
Basically, the mount, the ones with the mount keyword, would be the platform on which the mounted keyword cards are placed. So, because I didn't quite follow your explanation on that the electromagnetic locking joint basically isn't so much equipped to the creature as it is used to alter the other equipment.
It is more of a way to maintain like equipment cards, because with how so there's two types of like cog equipment, right? There's like a gun, which you can just hold, and when the person dies, they just drop the gun, right? Just like normal equipment. And then there's the mounted ones, which is more like augmentation or modifying like a vehicle, for instance. Where that is where mounted hat. It is saying that it is attached to the creature, like the target, and cannot be removed unless otherwise specified, right? Retrofit is an additional keyword for the mounted keyword. That's basically saying that when a creature or object with the mounted card is attached to passes or dies or whatever happens, right? Then the card in question is expelled from the creature and is returned to the battlefield and can be used as the equipment again.
I got that. The thing that I didn't quite understand is that, especially from the way this card is worded, that the electromagnetic locking joint would take the pneumatic fist with it.
The way that works is that I'm thinking with the cog, this might be a little complex. And like, hey, Moss, if you're still in the chat, tell me if this is too complex. Basically, when things are mounted, you can kind of choose how they are placed. So, for instance, you can have electromagnetic locking joint and just place it on the Augment Scavenger. And then you can have the pneumatic fist on the Scavenger. normally, right? But then if you specify when you're placing the card that you're putting the pneumatic power fist onto the joint, then that is mounted to the joint, and whatever happens to the base of that, let me try to rephrase here. So when two things are mounted together, they are basically turning into like one card, so to speak, right? Since this card can return when someone dies, the pieces that are attached to it, since that is considered one card, get carried over as well. So having an electromagnetic locking joint mounted onto the augment scavenger with the the pneumatic power fist attached, when the pneumatic scavenger, like when the augment scavenger dies, the joint basically allows the fist to still be around, even though normally without it, it would die with the scavenger.
Yeah.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah. That that makes sense. I'm just trying to now that I understand fully what you intend. I'm just trying to make that a little more defined, let's say, a little more clear in the ruling.
You calling me undefined? Son of a bitch.
I don't have a good comeback for that. It's too late for that. If you can define how things are connected to each other, why would I ever not choose to connect every single piece of equipment that I put onto a creature onto the electromagnetic locking joint? Because that way, whenever a creature dies, I keep everything.
That is a good question. I would probably say this is probably a good change, that the equip cost changes based on the amount of things mounted onto the joint itself.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. I would say we could change mounted in the way that one equipped cards with the keyword mounted cannot be unequipped unless otherwise stated, or cannot be freely unequipped. And all mounted cards equipped to one creature are become basically one and share all their equipment cost and keywords. Meaning the retrofit from the electromagnetic locking joint just carries over to all other equipment cards that you put onto the scavenger, for example. But if you want to re-equip another creature with all that stuff, you have to pay the entire equipment cost again.
Yeah, that's basically what I was. That's basically what I was thinking, to deter someone from just being like, every single mounted equipment goes on a single like retrofit joint, right? Because then it would be like 30 equipment costs, and you'll be like, oh, my monster died. I can't do anything with this.
I would say that it's both a deterrent and an incentive to play smart, and additionally something really cool, because you're building your own mech suit.
I was thinking, like, you're basically building a mech suit, but like you're also like building like a car or a tank or like,
yeah,
you know, like, you know what happened? You remember you watched Edge Runners, right?
No, I still have not watched Edge Runners.
Well, in Edge Runners, there's a character named David Martinez. Who,
yeah, the main character.
Yeah,
I know that much.
So he basically turns into a meat burrito inside a giant robot. And basically that's what some people may end up becoming with the cog. It's like they're like a little tube of meat, like more just like a brainstem inside a robot.
Yeah.
We'll go full 40K on their asses with that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Little bit Battle Angel Alita.
I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know. Like I saw like the cursed ass live action movie trailer where like the main character looks like an anime character if they were a real person, and I'm like, oh, that's cursed. that's uncanny as fuck.
I watched the original movie like years ago, and in the world of Alita, for some fucking reason, every single piece of the human body can be exchanged for cybernetics, even the brain, except for the spine. The spine cannot be replicated through cybernetics for some reason. So there's literally people who are just entirely robotic except for their spine.
And yeah, that's basically what's going to happen with some cog people, right? But they won't look like people at that point. They probably look like a heap of metal with arms and legs.
I think of the one Phyrexia card that I actually own, which is, I think, called the Phyrexia Juggernaut.
Yeah, it would look like a Phyrexia Juggernaut.
Also, swinging back a good bit away, just because I just thought about it again. When you mentioned the living organs, and how they can explode out and attack people again. Basco, have you ever seen Brain Dead?
No.
The fucking Peter Jackson zombie movie?
Nope. Wait, what do you mean?
Zombies.
Did you say Peter Jackson?
Yes, Peter
Okay, for
Jackson.
some reason I thought Percy Jackson. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
No, I mean, I'm talking about the New Zealand horror zombie movie directed by the same director as The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that.
The zombies in that are a little bit more resilient. In that, for example, a dude gets half his head cut off and he's still like the half a head is still like looking about and trying to bite people, even though he's just the upper half of a head without a lower jaw. And he just gets kicked around. But the absolutely dumbest part and most amazing bit of the giant climax of the movie, which I'm not gonna spoil because honestly it's a pretty good movie. The main character gets attacked by a bunch of intestinal internal organs.
Gross.
Like it's the lungs are like contracting to move forward, and they're trying, like the small intestine like shoots out and tries to strangle him.
Yeah, that's basically how like the living organs operate.
Yeah, that's just immediately what flashed into my head. I haven't thought about that scene in years.
I thought of a really cursed living organ, and it is skin. Like the skin membrane is alive.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that is gross.
and it has the ability to constrict somebody.
Oh. Oh. Oh my god, like I know I keep just making pop culture references, but have you ever seen Soul Eater?
No, actually, that's I have not watched. I've seen a lot of art of the characters, and that's kind of it.
Um, do you want me, or are you okay with me?
I do not care about spoilers.
Okay. So the big bad of the series is at some point revealed. He's like, I don't remember exactly what he is, but he's like madness incarnate, basically. And he was imprisoned by Shinigami-sama, the like actual Grim Reaper. And the way he was imprisoned is basically that he's like in a deep dungeon, protected by spells, confined in a sack made out of his own skin. And when he's awakened, he like stretches out and like reforms himself, and the skin just kind of
Gross.
yeah
Yeah.
shifts back into his human form, and
Yeah, that's probably how the skin would function. But I mean, so far the only living organs I've actually made are like the hand and the still beating heart, and that's kind of it. But yeah, no, like I said, I kind of want the cog to be the next in line, because I'm biased, baby.
yeah.
My dog just like charge out of the doggy door. Where's the valve? They're in my blind spot. Yeah, they're in my blind spot. I'm like right where they hang out outside, which is why when they bark, you guys can hear me. Well, hear them very easily. There might have been a dog going inside because I do not see them. I'm looking around for them, so I want to see what dog it is. But yeah, would you like to make some cards now? It's almost been 2 hours and we haven't made a single card.
Hey, we've made the lucky coin.
We wrote down a card that I thought we already made.
No, you already made that. You have sent me pictures of the lucky coin.
Oh yeah, it was like the prototype.
I mean, we can make a few cards, but honestly, it's getting late.
Are you out of gas?
That in mind. Not so much out of gas as much as I'm keenly aware that it's almost 10:30.
Let's make like 1 or 2 cards, and then we can call it a straight.
So the cog, right?
Yeah, let's do some cog. So, do you want to make some equipment or do you want to make some monsters?
Let's go for a monster first.
Okay. Just gonna.
Because monsters are still like the bread and butter. This is. Mhm.
All right, what are you thinking? What are you thinking, my man's?
I forgot what I was thinking.
Skill issue.
Yeah, definitely. Today's just not been my day. It's just, Oh yeah. Question.
Wow.
Would you want the cog to also have like a big boss monster, like the scales?
Yeah, no,
Or
that's the goal, is to have at least one character.
okay,
What was the ore question though? Let's see what your ore is.
aura. My ore is, would you want the cog to focus more on building a boss monster? So you said you want a character.
Yeah.
Fair. Do characters need to be cost 6?
No. I'm gonna say no.
Then how about like, we don't have to make the character now, but just for consideration, make the character a little bit weaker, a little bit more affordable, like maybe a cost 3 or 4, but make them more easily equipped.
Like the reduced equipment costs or something like that.
Reduce equipment cost, maybe make them able to take mounted equipment off of other creatures and put it onto themselves.
Oh, kind of like that. I like that vibe. Be kind of like the boss man of like the augment scavengers.
Pardon?
So like there's the card augment scavenger who can take mounted equipment cards off.
The augments. I thought you were referencing something else.
No, they'll be like the boss man of the augmented scavengers, or like the augment scavengers.
Yeah.
Although we could also put the caveat that the person in question can take mounted cards off of dead creatures, like from the graveyard, too. Probably for an auxiliary cost.
I'd be careful with graveyard effects. Because because the frequency of graveyard effects is it steers you in the direction of Yu-Gi-Oh.
I disagree.
I know that Magic has its graveyard effects.
There's a lot of graveyard effects.
But well, Magic still has the
like most graveyard effects happen with black or green, or black and green as a color combo.
Yeah, no, it's just that it's the cost part that always comes back up. With Yu-Gi-Oh, it falls back, or it's so shifted. I don't want to say broken, but shifted. That the graveyard is effectively a second hand. Which leads people to actually strategize around putting as many graveyard effects or activation upon entering the graveyard effects into their deck as possible, and then playing a card called That Grass Looks Greener, which mills like half your deck or a third of your deck. And also the currently most broken archetype deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is called Ishizu Tearlaments, which combines two archetypes, Tearlaments and the Ishizu cards, both of which have a tendency to throw themselves into or throw themselves and others into the grave, and then put themselves and each and others back back into the deck. I mean, so
I have an idea.
I guess making it possible to get the things out of your graveyard.
Making sure I'm spelling this right.
Making sure giving the ability to get the things out of your graveyard is fine, but give it an appropriate cost. I almost want to say limited to one card per turn, and maybe even make them pay double equip cost, something like that.
But what do you think about this as a non-human for the cog? Automatons.
Yeah, automaton mechanic. I was kind of thinking about just throwing in a Roomba.
Okay, hang on.
Or like a servitor drone.
I'm gonna be a nerd here. There we go. There we go.
You have to send her that.
Yeah. Wait. Oh, she's online.
She's online. She's playing the Star Rail game.
Yeah, my servant no longer.
She's honking.
Like, keep this. The servant no longer, automaton mechanic. Character card here, let's go, baby. Alright, so...
I am absolutely in favor of this.
Do we want this to be like a compounding cheapness? Like, the more they add on to themselves, the more... like, the less it costs, maybe? That feels like it might end up being really broken, though. Like, you put, like, 5 equipment on, like, mounted equipment on the character. Yeah. And then, like, everything's free, right?
I want to say, reduce equipment cost by 1, minimum of 1. Or we can be a little crazy here and say equipment cost is reduced by 1.
right? So that would imply that it also would be affecting everyone around them. Perhaps the equipment cost is reduced by 1. Let's say what are you gonna say?
I was just thinking about the electromagnetic locking joint, because that has an equipment cost of 0.
For a minimum of 0.
No, but that would mean everything that has an equipment cost of 1 now has no equipment cost. And I'm not sure whether or not that might invite problems.
I mean, like I said, these cards are meant to be, like, character cards are meant to be at least pretty strong. So playtest. That's the answer here, is playtest this card, definitely. So my servant no longer, equipment card costs reduced by 1. Maybe we can make the drawing from other mounted equipments a keyword, like it's just literally called scavenge, right? And for a cost, they can take mounted equipment off of different cards.
Actually, yeah, that's a good idea. First, I want to circle back to the first effect. The way it's worded right now, it also counts for your opponent.
Yeah, but like I feel like at the same time, most people are logical enough to realize that when a card says this, it is implying for only you. Because like for instance, like again, approaching this from a Magic player's perspective, there are cards like this, and it's like, yeah, it's only for you, not for the other person as well. And it's worded like that.
Fair enough. Again, I'm coming at this from a Yu-Gi-Oh perspective, and there's so much backstabbing.
Yeah, well, Yu-Gi-Oh is a bad game. So checkmate, atheist.
Okay, back to the second part. Scavenge. You brought up something that might have been that's probably a better idea than what I thought. Scavenge, give that a cost, and then have to pay the equipment cost. So
yeah,
you have to pay the scavenge cost to get it out of the grave, and then still, actually, yeah, that could be a better effect. That scavenge just gets it out of the grave, but doesn't immediately equip it.
Yeah, like you just get it out of the grave. So
Yeah.
scavenge. I may also reword the augments scavenger then to have scavenge as well. Although I like how augment scavenger is implying that it will also it only takes it off of living people, which is really fucked up, but in kind of a cool way.
Yeah,
for like
kind of
the vibe we're going for here.
that is kind of what I was thinking for Mai originally. But now I feel bad making her a fucked up card without her consent.
Yeah, so let's just go scavenge and say, what would a good cost? I'm gonna say, based on this right here, their cost is going to be a 5 for the time. Because this is a very potent effect right here, and I can see Scavenge being extremely potent as well. See, Pin is also going online. Got like 6 notifications.
Yeah, welcome to being in her Discord.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about other VTubers just using @everyone in their Discords, because it's so much.
It is what it is. So Scavenge is Ox. Let's say like Oxy 3.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oxy 3. You may take a single. Ah! Oh no! Oh no! I messed this. I'm struggling. Equipment card out of the yard. Onto the battle field. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Yeah, Scavenge, equipment cost. I need to change the health and the attack. Probably just gonna be a 5/5 because that feels kind of natural. What you think different gun emoji?
Yes.
What do you think then?
How about making it her a 4H5 or 6 to like incentivize using the
Oh, to augment that. Okay, no, I see
Yeah.
what you mean. So like, let's go. Three. Then H. It's a fucking meat house. This card is definitely playtest. This is on the playtest bracket here.
It's just something that I noticed that with the other cards that you have, that they're either same or favor attack.
True. Hang on, I'm gonna do something real quick. so I don't dox myself by accident. Roll.
Don't want to put your whole ass robo ass out onto the internet.
Yes, hang on one moment. Gotta look something up real. There we go. That's what I like to see, baby. Okay. Now for the reveal. Bum bum. I mean, just for the time being, right?
Yeah. The actual art will be rebuffed.
I mean, who knows? We may not even like I might not even be into this. But yeah, I mean, it's getting kind of late for you. Do you want to call it here? Now they have made one card and a character card at that.
Let's make one more equipment card.
Sure. What are you thinking for the equipment card?
I have no thoughts. Brain empty. No, but seriously, I don't necessarily want to just make a sword, for example.
A sword and sword.
Yeah. Just the card titled Sword, SOWRD. It's just attack 18.
So this is not going to be a mounted weapon. This will be like a held weapon.
No. I'm not entirely sure what I meant to say. Is that I like equipment that does interesting stuff, rather than just give a ton of attack. So
I was thinking that we could also incorporate more like equipment mechanics, like things that would be like specifically really seen only with like held weapons. Although that's, I was gonna say, there's one that we could have done for like the scales, for instance. Now I'm thinking now because of, like the kind of the card identity, like the mechanic identity there, where it's something called unstable, where you do a coin flip to determine like how effective it can be. But the idea of unstable feels like it would be much more of a cog thing than a scale thing, right? Like maybe that was just like a trick shot, right? For like the scale, for like the coin flip. But like we could try to do like an unstable mechanic, right? Like it's like a prototype that's unstable, right?
yeah. Okay. How about this? Unstable could be a negative keyword. In that, I keep saying this entire stream. This 50% of the stream has just been
Oh, my man's just keep going.
So unstable could be a negative. A negative
Word.
A negative
Tagline, keyword.
keyword that has as its effect when the equipped monster receives any amount of damage that the unstable card deals, say, 10 damage to it.
Oh, like it's like overloading.
Yeah. But to make up for that, like on the one hand, you could pair that with a creature that may be able to forcefully equip equipment to, your opponent's creatures. For example.
I like it. I like where this is going. Okay, I'm enjoying this thought.
But to properly make up for other unstable prototype type equipment, well, prototypes tend to be really high powered sometimes, right?
Yes.
So yeah, they're prone to going critical, but also when you fire that laser beam, ain't nothing standing back up. You feel what I'm saying?
I feel it.
It gives a pretty hefty attack boost, but if you receive any damage, that monster is gone.
I feel it. I feel this. Okay, I have an idea. Speaking of lasers. So...
Did you just roll a die?
I've been playing with the dice this entire stream, don't worry about it.
I felt so robbed. I was hanging out with Orion and Selfin the other day, and we were rolling up characters, and at some point I decided, you know what? I'm gonna play Minecraft while we hang out. And so I got out my physical dice to keep rolling instead of using a chat bot. And then we just immediately stopped rolling up characters.
Damn! Unstable beam cannon. And then equip. What should the equip cost be for the unstable beam cannon? Oh, let me actually change this. While you think of that, let me change.
Make it a prototype beam cannon.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to say, make it high. Make it a high. Why is your face gone?
My face gone? Oh no! I was typing with the numpad. Don't worry, all good.
There's your beautiful face.
With a type electro cannon. There we go.
There we go. So I want to say make the equip cost high, because who wants to have that thing strapped to their back? Like, willingly? But also make the equip cost not too high, so people actually use it.
Yeah. Three? Four?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ox 4. That seems fair.
Unstable. Maybe it's like a certain threshold. It starts going crazy.
That would make more sense, but it would be more difficult to codify.
Yeah. So for the time being, let's just go. User of this card is damaged. This card deals 10. 100% playtest. 100% playtest here.
Yeah.
This card deals 10 damage to the user.
And it's destroyed.
And is I'm gonna say destroyed instead of going to your graveyard. I'm gonna think destroyed is like its own special word. It's like basically like exiling something in Magic.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say that. In Yu-Gi-Oh, there is a difference between being sent to the graveyard and being destroyed. For example, I actually used this in a duel against the bot, but still, to my advantage at one point recently, where the opponent had a monster out that said it couldn't be destroyed by battle or card effects. But I had a creature out. Actually, that might have been against an actual person anyway. But I managed to get a creature out that had an effect that says, when activated, send one card on your opponent's field to the graveyard. And since that didn't specify that the creature would be that the monster would be destroyed, it worked on that enemy monster. So, yeah, you could say destroyed. I mean, you also already have the keyword die. Like when a creature dies.
Yeah.
Would mean being sent to the graveyard. In this case, well, equipment doesn't die, it's destroyed.
We'll figure it out. It's all good. That's for
But
future. That's for future me to figure out. What do you think of the cost so far? So attack 4, so just an extra 4 damage. Cost is 4 though.
I'm gonna say make the attack higher. Make it like 5 or even 6. Because the detriment is high enough that it warrants having a high benefit.
No, not 56. 6. So that means like if someone has this, they could fucking one-shot the angel so far.
Yeah.
All right.
Which is kind of the point. You can one-shot the angel, but then dude crashes a one attack token into you and you go nuclear.
Yeah. So that is that. It is late. It is late for you, my good sir.
It sure is. It is 11 p.m.
You need sleepy time, sleepy baby time.
I always feel so infantilized when you talk like that.
But for real, is there any shillings or farthings you'd like to do before we move on?
I do not really have any shilling or farthing.
All right.
I don't feel, for one, I don't feel like I really can shill for my stream because there is no stream.
Not with that attitude.
Not currently. But this was fun. Thank you for having me, Bosco.
Yeah. My announcements are included but not limited to, hey, I decided to not work for Cold Stone. So technically speaking, I don't have a job right now, technically speaking. So, it's not a big deal. I have applied to multiple locations at this point, and multiple of them seemed interested in getting back in touch with me. Worst comes to worst, I will go work at Lego again, and that's not that bad of a scenario. The main part is the drive is the bad part.
Yeah.
I
mean, podcast time.
Yeah, honestly. Beyond that, there's nothing really else to talk about. So let's raid. I want to say my.
Hang on. Actually, I do have something to shill for.
What's up? What's your shilling?
On the 29th, twitch.tv/neon_noble.
Yeah. Yeah.
the wonderful wife of of Nakasen's own German Temporison.
They hate that.
I know, that's why I do it. But yeah, the wonderful wife of Lex Temporis is doing her first stream on her 30th birthday, the 29th, of a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon ROM hack that she made herself, which is cool. And it would mean a lot if you guys could swing by.
Yo, did Mai just go offline?
Did she? Oh god, yeah, she did.
Damn, well, let's
God
find
damn
someone
it.
else to raid then. It's all good. Let's try to raid someone new today, you know?
I mean, you've raided into Marude Cinco. We could raid into her wife.
Sure, who's that?
I'll send you a link.
Sure, let's do this person. All
That's
right. Yeah, thank you all. I hit my dice again. Thank you all for hanging out, and thank you, Hayden, for hanging out with me today and making and talking about. We mainly talked about card games. We didn't really make any cards yet. We made 2 cards.
Look, I have not been part of the card creation process that much.
I feel
Mainly,
like you have.
You've sent me cards that you have made, and I've been like.
I feel like you've been a pretty important part. But yeah, I'll talk to you all probably tomorrow. I mean, might as well stream when I don't have anything else to do.
Heck yeah.
And hopefully I get a job again soon. Also, I'm gonna start e-bagging super hard because I do have rent to pay.
So much for putting your whole ass robot ass out onto the internet.
Yeah. So yeah. With that, I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.